Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, well, I am going to be, well, you guys can hear it in my voice, but I'm going to be joined by you guys in a little bit. The Lakers opened up training camp, and we have a couple of updates to get to before we dive into the this week's mailbag. Remember, the mailbag's a little jumbled this week because of media day yesterday. We'll get back to the usual schedule tomorrow. But we do have a few questions from the iTunes mailbag. We have a few questions from Twitter. We have we'll get some questions, I'm sure, from the live audience while I record this. So yeah, it's going to be a busy day because we have that in the second half of the show. Ethan Strauss wrote for his Substack today about the Clippers scandal and the notion kind of floating around the league that Adam Silver has a certain outcome to the investigation that the NBA is currently running. So we'll discuss that in a second as well. The other thing we got to talk about, most importantly, and it's what we will open the show with, is from day one of practice, LeBron didn't practice, Marcus Smart didn't practice, Gabe Vincent didn't practice, and then Adou Thiero also didn't practice. So we'll discuss some of that stuff. Dave McMenamin of ESPN reported that the LeBron's camp has informed the Lakers that they would prefer the Lakers keep the long game in mind, which is kind of interesting compared to LeBron's comments, or I guess Clutch's comments earlier this summer. So we'll discuss all of that over the course of this show. I am recording right at the tail end of Miles's nap time. So we'll see how long I can go. We'll see how long my voice holds up. And we'll see how quickly we can get through all of this stuff so I can spend as much time on your questions as I possibly can. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get going. A quick reminder, please do hit subscribe wherever it is that you guys get your podcasts. If you guys are listening to the show that way in the morning. If you guys are watching live right now on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And, the share button helps as well. And then if you guys are watching the show on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. And again, hit all of those nice buttons. Let's start, though, with LeBron James not being available for much of practice today. And it sounds like he's not really going to be all that available for much of training camp. So that's certainly interesting. JJ Redick said after practice that, last year he thinks that maybe LeBron pushed it a little too hard in training camp, and that doing so might have put him at risk or played a role in LeBron. He had that MCL sprain in that series. He's had foot problems over the last couple of years. And JJ Redick has basically said after practice today that they want to rest LeBron a little bit more this training camp and then over the course of the season than they did last year. So that's interesting. And then Dave McMenamin said, in his own reporting, now he had an exclusive conversation with LeBron during media day yesterday, in which LeBron talked about some of the maladies and injuries that he has been dealing with over the last couple of years, and what he thinks might need to be done this year to keep him a little fresher as we get later into the season, and then obviously most importantly for the postseason. But Dave McMenamin reported for ESPN the following. So this is via Dave on Twitter. As I reported on NBA Today, the plan is for LeBron James to be present for the Lakers' first practice Tuesday, but will be limited in his on-court participation, sources told ESPN. LeBron's camp conveyed to the Lakers brass to be overly cautious and take the long view in year 23. So, look, because of the way I'm wired, I'm going to make a joke here. It's just a joke. Nobody freak out. But wasn't LeBron frustrated at the beginning of summer with the Lakers taking a long view of their team building? Just funny how that specific phrase now is what they prefer. All right. Jokes out of the way, though. Makes sense. Like LeBron's 41 years old. Cue to Dalton Connect. Damn. But yeah, LeBron's 41 years old. He's in year 23. He has gone through a few training camps in his time. Now, I would prefer that LeBron gets some reps over the course of training camp so that he and Luka are ready to hit the ground running at the beginning of the season. I think it's fair to be, to want to see that. But end of the day, though, it's just the wise thing to do here. Let's see if we can keep him as fresh as possible. Maybe limit the amount of scrimmaging that he does in practices, and see if he can get those scrimmage reps from preseason games. We'll see how available he is for these preseason games. The Lakers have one coming up, I believe. Let's see. Preseason schedule. Yeah, so Friday, they play the Suns Friday night. On Friday, that's what Friday night means, and so it'll be interesting to see how available LeBron is for that. Now, the good thing for LeBron and the Lakers here is that they play Friday, and then they have a couple of days off before they play again on Sunday, and then they have a full week off before they play again the following Sunday. Both of those games are against the Warriors. So, because of the spacing of those games, my guess, again, it's just a guess, but my guess is LeBron plays Friday and then, or like plays one of those two games, right? So he'll play either Friday when the Lakers open their preseason, or he'll play Sunday and not play Friday, and then he'll play again the following you know a week from then against the Warriors. Maybe take off the next couple of games. They play Tuesday, October 14th, and then Wednesday, for some reason, they have a game on the 15th too. You're doing a back-to-back in preseason. But that's weird. So I would guess that LeBron probably plays that Sunday game and then skips the next two games, that Tuesday, Wednesday stretch that the Lakers have, and then wraps up by playing their final preseason game against the Kings, which would be October 17th. Again, that's just kind of how I would kind of build out his schedule. I don't know that that's exactly how he's going to be playing, but end of the day, if we are being told on the front end of training camp that LeBron and his camp are telling the Lakers to play this overly cautious, then I would expect he's going to play roughly half of the preseason games, just to make sure he is as ready as possible. Hell, he might. Another thing he might do is, so he could go, all right, so let's say he plays Friday, or let's say he skips Friday, plays Sunday, or he plays like one quarter of Friday, sits out the rest of the game Friday, and then he plays that Sunday against the Warriors again, maybe the first quarter or the first half, then rests for a week, recovers for a week, plays that Sunday game, against the Warriors, maybe a full half in that one, or maybe like 3/4 of it. And then he'll sit Lakers Suns that following Tuesday, and then play Wednesday's game, which is at home, which I think is a good thing for LeBron here. He plays that Wednesday game against the Mavericks, sits out the final preseason game, and then is just fully ready to go when the season kicks off, October 20th, I believe, or 21st. So that is how I think he'll probably play out his preseason. Good question here, fair question here from Omaris. What about chemistry? Um, yeah, I think that's a concern, but like if the point is to win a championship this year, you have plenty of time to build chemistry over the course of the regular season. And you shouldn't feel like you need to stretch LeBron in the preseason just for the sake of chemistry. Um, he also talked about how, while he's there on the sideline, he's paying extra close attention to the kinds of things that the Lakers are trying to run. This isn't a situation here where, like, in a regular season when you aren't available or you aren't practicing or something like that, you might not even be present. You might be focused on rehabbing or getting treatment on whatever it is that you're dealing with. LeBron seemed to indicate that, he is going to be, even if he isn't participating fully in practice, he's going to be there and he's going to be present and paying very close attention to try to build chemistry out that way. Again, obviously not the same thing, but that's a thing that the Lakers could do, and you can build it out that way. The smart thing makes me a little nervous, because of where the issue is. If it's his heel, and I think JJ Redick called it tendinopathy. Now that can sometimes just mean soreness, essentially. But like, I don't know. I'm always really nervous about feet issues, especially early on, because those you can't get better unless you sit out for a long time. You can't really, your feet can't really heal fully because, you're always on them in one way or another. And then also importantly for Marcus Smart, and by the way, this might affect it, depending on how available he is over the course of training camp. This might affect whether or not Rui starts, right? Or Marcus Smart starts, or Vando or Laravia or whatever. But like with Smart not being available, that makes me a little nervous because he is such a key part of the defense while he is out there. And if he isn't getting those reps and the defense is, playing from behind in any way, shape, or form heading into the season, that makes me a hell of a lot more nervous than what LeBron is able to do or not able to do this time of year. So we'll see what Smart's availability is for tomorrow's practice and then moving forward. But between the two, hearing more, I know I spent a lot more time talking about LeBron and his availability and all of that stuff, but Smart being dinged up already, or not being limited in practice already, that makes me a lot more nervous, quite frankly, than LeBron. Yeah, I don't know this might be Brandon Oming asking, wasn't Smart completely healthy? That's what they all say. Unless they are quite literally not able to go. But yeah, there was no mention with Smart on media day of any kind of an issue or any reason why he wouldn't be able to go. So starting the training camp with a DNP in any of any form for Marcus Smart is kind of weird and kind of interesting. I want to talk really quickly though about like this notion of the long game, and what that might mean for the Lakers. And to me, what it means is they're going to have to be a lot more effective, not just in terms of like when LeBron is playing games and stuff like that, but they're going to have to be effective and efficient in those moments that LeBron is actually available so that you can develop that chemistry. So that, and, you know, all of like, I went back and I checked out more aspects of media day. You know, Spectrum had their interviews off to the side. ESPN LA was doing their interviews off to the side. And, you know, what I was paying attention to, or from what I heard there, all of, you know, JJ, LeBron, Luca, Austin, you know, they seem to understand how important it will be for them to be more involved this year than they were last year, whether that's in sets, whether that's in um you know, being leaders of the team, like whatever that, all of what that might mean is very important here. And it's going to be, you know, crucial for the Lakers if they are going to be overly cautious here, or if they are going to be playing this long game here with LeBron. That's fine. I totally understand and frankly agree. But um, if that is going to be the approach, then that just means you have to be that much more focused when LeBron is actually available, so that you can get the absolute most out of those minutes, whether they come in practice, whether they'll come in preseason games, whether they'll come in regular season games, just so that by the time we get to the postseason, those guys feel like they will have enough reps banked together to be able to fully lean on come those games when they matter that much more. So yeah, that's like the long game makes a ton of sense, but that does come with, you know, higher expectations whenever LeBron is actually participating. All right. We got another little tidbit here from Ethan Strauss. He has his Substack. And I'm gonna go ahead and read the quote from it that I grabbed, or that I tweeted out on this morning. Quote: "There's a perception in the league that the NBA commissioner, um, I say conditioner because he's soft. Adam Silver isn't exactly a neutral party in this investigation of the Los Angeles Clippers. There's a belief within NBA circles that both sides, the Clippers and the league, have been in communication and are on something of the same page here." End quote. So, the phrase that I've heard used quite a bit is plea bargain, where the Clippers basically come out and acknowledge that this was improper, that Aspiration acted in a way that was irresponsible, or that Kawhi Leonard benefited from how Aspire, you know, behaved in this spot. Um, you know, essentially what the Clippers are going to do is try to make the case that, yeah, this seems shady, but you can't punish us for seeming shady. You have to punish us for acting illegally. And you know, that's fine, and that's how it should work in a court of law, but that's not how the league is operating here. Courts, you know, when it comes to the actual law, can operate or can be held to the highest standard because they can subpoena. You can be, you can go to jail for perjury. There are just, the courts are held to a higher standard because they have more tools to be able to work with when they are trying to prove that you are guilty of whatever crime that you are accused of, or that somebody is accused of. And in this case, with the league, they can't subpoena people. They can't threaten people with jail if they lie under oath. There is no oath, right? When these investigations are held. And you know, one thing that I've talked about a lot over the last few weeks now, is how I think the NBA's investigations have been shams, to to this point, not meaning like they belong to Sean, but I mean like quite literally they have been fake investigations where you could just you the NBA scandals go as follows, where basically you say, all right, report so and so did this thing that they shouldn't have done. Then you have the league dust off Mike Bass, and he comes out and he says, we take these things very, very seriously, and we will be investigating them further. End quote. End of statement. And then reporters, and especially like not very good ones, will point to the investigation and they'll say, all right, we did our job. The league says they're investigating it. We don't really got to stick around and wait for it. Let's move on. And then, in the case of like Jackson Hayes this year, or when they initially investigated Jackson Hayes's domestic violence incident, we found out through actual reporting some of the holes in that investigation and some of the flaws in the investigation. And the for the NBA to have investigated Jackson the first time around and then not find the video, or even worse, find the video and still look the other way on it, that is a pretty bad look, because eventually the video of that incident comes out, and then the NBA says, well, we take these things very, very seriously, and we're going to reopen this investigation. And it's like, well, you already investigated, and the decision you came to was not to punish Jackson in any real way. So you can't make that decision and then go back and retroactively punish him because the video came out. And, the league can say, well, we asked Jackson about this and he said there wouldn't be a video. And it's like, okay, but it's not like he can go to jail for perjury there. So like in this case, and one of the concerns that Strauss made in his piece, one of the concerns around the league is that the NBA in this case has an end game, right? They have a result in mind already heading into this investigation, and they may just so happen to find whatever information throughout their investigation that leads them to the result that they would prefer. And in that case, that's not an investigation. That's just you preferring a certain outcome and doing whatever is necessary to get to that outcome. And look, like, this is where Adam Silver is really kind of being put to the test here. And frankly, I think this is where journalists are NBA journalists are being put to the test here, where it's on us to continue after the league and to stay after the league. And I think this was an important point, that Strauss made kind of indirectly here is, hey, this is something that like these people are already kind of nervous about. And it's because of a trend that the NBA is already, that anybody who's been paying attention can note this trend of these investigations that all seem to land the NBA at the path of least resistance. So it's kind of on us who cover this league, especially those of us who have access to Adam Silver in these press conferences, or those of us who have access to the Clippers, to continue after the league, and not basically, because like what a lot of reporters have done with a lot of these investigations is, again, the cycle of player or coach or whoever does wrong thing. Mike Bass says we're investigating it, and then nothing comes of the investigation. Well, part of the reason that nothing comes of that investigation is because reporters also move on. Like, that's kind of on us too. And when reporters choose to move on, as like I never heard of follow-ups asked of the league, other than I think Silver Screen and Roll actually finally asked for a follow-up on from the league on that case. But I never really heard much from beat reporters on that front. And you know, that this is one of those spots where you know, it's really important, and it's really kind of vital for the integrity of the league that the NBA is held to account whenever they run this investigation. And look, like a lot of people kind of around the league that I spoke to already rolled their eyes when one of the first things that we heard was, yeah, we don't think this investigation is going to be wrapped up before All-Star game, which, oh, by the way, just so happens to be at the Intuit Dome this year, which, by the way, was really close to being named the Aspiration Dome, which would have been so fucking perfect. God, I wish that could have been it. Because funny thing is, if the Clippers had chosen Aspiration to name their building after, and Aspiration said at the time that they offered the most money, and the Clippers say that Aspiration offered more money and they turned them down to be able to run with Intuit. But if the Clippers had named their building the Aspiration Dome or the Aspiration Arena or whatever, I don't think they would have been able to hold the All-Star game at the Aspiration Arena. That'd have been a little awkward. But anyway, yeah, it's all of this is to say that once again, we are sitting here hoping that the NBA runs an actual investigation. At the very least, the NBA's investigation needs to produce more than Pablo Torre's podcast has produced to this point. So right there, like we kind of have like the bare minimum expectation of the league in this spot. And if they aren't even able to do that, then, you know, that's when we can all kind of look at Adam Silver and say, oh, all right, it's like that then, huh? And then after that, all the other teams around the league are going to be like, well, they got a slap on the wrist. We may as well tamper our asses off too. We may as well circumvent the cap too, because so long as Adam Silver is, you know, comes down soft on these things, then we may as well benefit from breaking those rules too. And like I said all along, I don't really want to cover a league that operates that way. It's impossible, frankly, to cover that league. It would no longer have integrity. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into your guys' questions, starting with the iTunes mailbag. As a reminder, the best way to get your topics covered here on the show without paying for a super chat, which I always do appreciate, obviously, is to leave it in the form of a 5-star review. And we'll kick them off with Angel RSO, bunch of numbers, asking, excuse me, I need to drink some water. So I'm going to play this really quick.
That's a motherfucking shot. Shit. Over the trees, huh?
Whew. All right. That's a little better. All right. So Angel asks, the Bus Bros announcement would seem to put them in a position to be part of an investment group for future ownership, whether it's LeBron or some other established franchise. You can go into any rumblings or back alley whispers. Good topic for a slow day. Also, I fell in love with your show when you brought in larger topics through the sports lens. It is tough to talk about these things without strong feelings on either side. And through sports, people seem to be more willing to listen and comprehend instead of lining up the next narrative talking point. They spew like diarrhea. We are at an inflection point, and no topic within reason should be out of bounds or off the table. Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate that last comment. That to me is one of the real value points of sports, is that it gives us this different prism through which to view the world. And there is obviously a lot going on right now that we should be having more productive conversations about than we currently are, rather than hopping on social media and screaming at each other. I do think we have more in common with each other on either side of the aisle, right? than the media would like us to think we do. And I think, frankly, sports brings people together from both sides of that aisle and gives us a an opportunity to have more even if we aren't even having conversations about the world. If somebody from that side of the aisle comes over here and talks to somebody on the other side of the aisle, and they see that they have something in common, meaning, say, a sports team, we can start to view each other as humans again. And that is, I think, a value add from sports. So, yeah, I don't really shy away from too many talking points at this point in my life. But if something going on in sports gives us an opportunity to draw a through line to something that's going on in the greater world, then I'm going to take it. And I hope that the conversation that comes of that opportunity is a productive one, even if I disagree. Like if somebody's in the chat and they disagree with me, I'm down to have. By the way, one nice thing about playback is that I will be able to bring people on stage a little bit more easily than I do in this version of the show. And if we do have those conversations and we can stay civil and stuff like that, even better. Because I would like to try to remind people that there are humans on both sides of this thing, even if I disagree vehemently with some of the points from those people on the other side. Anyway, the Busbro announcement would seem to put them in a position to be part of an investment group for future ownership. Well, they would then have to completely divest from the Lakers because you can't obviously own multiple teams at the same time. But venture capital is making its way into sports, and that is apparently what the Bus Bros are getting after, or trying to dip their toes into, and we'll see what comes of it. But if they are going to, make some kind of ownership group with LeBron, they would have to, and the Bus family would have to sell off all of their shares of the Lakers, or the Bus Bros specifically would have to write themselves out of the trust fund that they are a part of that gives them any kind of partial ownership of the Lakers. Because again, you can't have that direct conflict of interest where you are a part of the trust that owns a little chunk of the Lakers, but then also owns a chunk of some different team in that league. You can own teams across sports, obviously. That happens all the time. Mark Walter with the Lakers and Dodgers, for example. But yeah, you obviously can't own multiple teams from the same league. David in Sacramento asks, "Hey Anthony, you can read this part on air if you like, or keep it to yourself. I cannot thank you enough for your work. I've been listening for 7 years, and your voice carried me through a broken leg, a global pandemic, and a divorce. For keeping me company on my good days and bad. Thank you." Well, man, that's I'm happy to have helped. The question I have: what do you think about JJ mentioning Mark Walter when first asked about his extension? Um, I figured you would have latched onto this, but he thanked Mark, Jeannie, and Rob in that order. Does that mean anything to you? I'll have to go back and listen to that. That's a great point. Good job noting that. Also, next time you see our old friend Mr. Larsoul and he challenges Magic Johnson's greatness by asking if he could use his left hand, as he did so often on the show, can you please respond? Did he need to? He got to fight. He won 5 championships, 9 trips to the finals, even without a left. Thank you. No, I actually saw Aaron over the summer and told him that he's crazy for thinking Steph is greater than Magic. But anyway, let's go to that first question, the Mark, Jeannie, and Rob thing. Again, I want to go back and find it again and note how I might have missed it. Look, Mark Walter is about to be his boss, and Mark Walter actually was in Vegas with the group that went and saw the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere. So that relationship obviously is already being planted. And we'll see what that kind of looks like moving forward. Now, as far as ordering Jeannie and Mark and Walter the way, or Mark and Palinka the way that he did, I think it mostly just comes down to Mark Walter is going to be his boss. But also sometimes people list people in order where, like, saving the best for last kind of a deal. But yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it quite yet, but I got to go and find the audio and see what you're talking about. But still, great note to make. Let's see. Kush Corleone writes, you said something very interesting about the timing of the Bus brothers announcing their next venture. It got me thinking about the likelihood of the Lakers finding another gem. I'm not sure to what degree Thiero is a younger Bus brother find, but in your opinion, if they actually lost their chance of running the team, what level of care would they have to help their new ownership before this initial transition takes place to still find good talent moving forward? Sidebar, second episode of the Great Western Forum was awesome, and I can't wait to see it develop while we actually have games to discuss. Thank you very much. That I truly believe in the concept of that Great Western Forum. So does Pete, so does Jovan. And funny enough, like, so do other people in this industry who have been like DMing me like, hey, when are you gonna do the next one? Can I get on there? The FOMO is real in this industry. I feel it too, so I get it. But anyway, yeah, the I think that the Bus brothers are still invested enough, whether they see the writing on the wall that, of their eventual departure or whatever. I still think they care enough about the Lakers, their dad's team, the family business, all of that stuff, to continue to put in the work necessary to actually draft well. The reality of the situation is the draft is a very imperfect science. Sometimes most teams miss more often than they hit, but still, when you're the Lakers and that has been a strength of the organization, and then all of a sudden it dips, it really puts a strain on other aspects of the organization. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to with Mark Walter taking over, is by him investing resources into the Lakers, into the other aspects of the Lakers, that makes them more capable of picking up that burden if for whatever reason another aspect of the Lakers dips or takes a slide or something like that. Because recently, you go back through the Lakers' recent draft picks, Christie is really the only one that's stuck, right? That's worked out. And even he took a little while for that to actually take place. But like Dalton, you know, um, obviously Jalen Hood-Schifino was a disaster of a pick. Adou Thiero, like, we'll see how, like, if he's able to get onto the floor. One of my concerns is, like, because the Lakers can often be kind of reactive. And so what they essentially did over the last couple of years is, like, they've basically said, you know what, we are not drafting or signing anybody who has had serious injury issues. And what that led to is, like, you pass over a Cam Whitmore, to be able to draft a Jalen Hood-Schifino. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino deals with injury issues while Cam Whitmore becomes, like, a pretty good NBA player. And then, now it's like, well, you missed on because you reacted to a prior trend or overcorrected to a prior trend. And now you're like, well, shit, let's just take the best player available. And you go back to not taking injuries into account, because injuries were a concern of Thiero's coming into draft night. Well, now you react to the overcorrection and you overcorrect again, and you're right back to where you started, where you bring in guys with injury concerns and you don't have the medical know-how to turn things around for that player. So, biggest thing is we need to see the Lakers invest in their med team, invest in their scouting department, and get better on both of those fronts so that they can help each other. That way, I don't believe that the Bus brothers are like checked out, right, or that they have any kind of senioritis. But for the sake of this hypothetical, if Mark Walter invests enough into the Lakers, you could then basically make up for senioritis if that happens. But let's again, I want to be clear. I don't think senioritis is actually happening, but let's avoid it altogether if we can. All right, let's go ahead and see the all right, let's go ahead and dive into the super comments, which means I get to play this bad boy. Music to my ears. All right. Brandon Norman kicks us off with here we go again. SMH, Smart and Gabe limited. Please trade Gabe. Get him off this team. Also, we should have wouldn't Sunday or get in field goal range to go to OT. Confused. I'm guessing you're a Vikings fan, Brandon, because like the Vikings not being able to get into field goal range was pretty embarrassing. Carson Wentz sucks. That guy is not a good quarterback. The line isn't very good either, which makes Wentz already takes Wentz from being a bad quarterback to completely unplayable. But still. But anyway, all right. So here we go again. Smart and Gabe limited. Look, I'm of the opinion that the Lakers should have traded Gabe Vincent over the summer. And I thought it was kind of dumb if we are to believe Dan Wojcicki and Mark Stein's reporting, which I think I can pretty easily poke some holes in. But still, let's say we believe that. And that the Lakers, midway through the season, after seeing Luka play in EuroLeague, decided all out of nowhere, you know what? We're going to go for it. And it's like, you needed to see Luka Doncic, a top 3 player in the world, play well against Finland to now make the decision that, now I'm open to trading draft capital for or now I'm willing to take on longer term money. That's it. So I don't know. But anyway, I just think the Lakers needed to enter this offseason with the intent to turn Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber's cap spots into productive NBA players in one way or another, whether it's attaching them to Rui, whether it's attaching them to Dalton, whether it's attaching them to a second round pick, maybe the second round pick that you buy, instead of using it on Thiero, you attach it to Gabe Vincent. Or, if you're going to buy a draft pick, you bring it in and then you trade it for a later draft pick, from a future season. And then you attach that draft pick to Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, and you turn them into players that you can more confidently say are going to help you this year. That should have been the goal. That should have been one of the goals. That way, if you added DeAndre Ayton and if you added Marcus Smart, by the way, also, if you would have, I know that I've spoken to people who say that this was just not possible, that Dorian was gone heading into the summer. But even if you would have just turned Gabe Vincent into nothing, right? Even if you would have just traded Gabe Vincent and a second rounder to the Brooklyn Nets so that you could have the space under the first apron that you're capped at to also re-sign Dorian Finney-Smith, that turns Gabe into a productive NBA player. And like now instead you go into the season. I don't know what role Gabe, and honestly, it doesn't even matter that Gabe Vincent is limited on the first day of practice. What role is he going to play on this team? He's the third guard, fourth if you include Luka, right? So like you could make an argument that Bronny is probably at his cap spot. He's probably the guy that you would want in the role that Gabe Vincent is going to be in this year, so that you could use Gabe's money to go out and improve at a position that you actually still need. So yeah, I'm more frustrated that Gabe Vincent is on the roster at all right now than I am that he's dinged up. Like, I don't care that he's dinged up. He shouldn't be playing much this season. Smart being dinged up, like I said earlier, that does make me a little nervous. I'm not ringing any alarm bells or anything like that quite yet, but I would like to, next time we see the Lakers, which is on Friday, right? When we see the Lakers open up their preseason slate, I really need to see Marcus Smart out there with them. We need a good understanding of what kind of player he is right now, because like the one case that I think can be made for Rui starting is I would rather start a healthy Rui over a diminished Marcus Smart. And if Marcus isn't able to go as soon as tomorrow, or if he isn't able to play on Friday, or if he isn't healthy by the time we get to, by the time, like, he needs to play a lot, not a lot, but we need to see plenty of Marcus Smart for me to feel comfortable starting him over Rui at the beginning of the year. Because if we don't see that, then like you may as well just start Rui, which, by the way, there are some people that I've spoken to who are like, don't discount the possibility of Rui starting. If anything, it might be likelier than Smart. Second question from Brandon. What's DK's role on this team? I don't see how he fits in. Yeah, that's where I would say that, again, I would have preferred to turn Dalton and Gabe into a player, whether it was Dalton and Gabe and a first round pick, or Dalton and Gabe and Kleba in a first round or a second rounder or something like that. Like, I would have preferred a finalized roster going into the season, rather than this thing that we did again, where it's like, well, we'll go into the season and we'll see what the market looks like by the time we get to the deadline. I just think you could get to the deadline and then reassess what the market looks like at that point, and then see what else you need to do to be able to benefit from where the market stands as you get close to the deadline. Because it's possible, maybe not probable, but it's possible that you get to the deadline and prices haven't dropped, and now all of a sudden you're trading for, we'll just use Andrew Wiggins as the example here. Maybe you're trading exactly what it was going to take to trade for Andrew Wiggins at the deadline as it would have cost before the season. And then you just wasted a whole bunch of time waiting for the market to drop, and you don't get the benefit of waiting that market out. So, because Wiggins, like, he has a player option for next year, and then he just becomes a really big expiring. He has helped a team win a championship in the past. Like, there are going to be quite a few teams that want Andrew Wiggins when that time comes, or if that time comes for Miami to trade him. And if enough teams want him and that price is still high enough, then you just wasted all of our time waiting to hopefully get him at a discount compared to what he was at the summer. All right, let's go ahead and call it there. Honestly, my voice is kind of getting a little scratchy. Miles is waking up. Jen's going to call me in about 15 minutes because she's on her way home. And we have Dodgers baseball to prepare for. And by prepare, I mean pour ample alcohol for, because wild card baseball is terrifying. So until I will record a lowdown at some point to kind of wrap up all this in a neater little bow. So check out that on the RSS feed. I want your guys' feedback on this. Hit me in the Discord if you guys want to hit me in the Discord. But I want your guys' feedback on this. Or maybe I can make a post on or a poll on YouTube. Do you guys want the lowdowns that I record? Do you want them on this YouTube page too? Because right now they're an RSS feed exclusive, but I don't know what benefit that is to make them exclusive to the RSS feed. So hit me hit me on Twitter or hit me on the Discord, or maybe I'll make a poll here either on Twitter. Maybe I'll do both. I'll just add them all together and I'll see where we kind of stack up after it. But I'm debating recording lowdowns or at least like short recap, especially for games, right? Short recap videos that I would be doing for the RSS feed anyway. I could just record them here on StreamYard anyway and make them available on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think. I'm legitimately curious where you guys stand on this. But yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button, and until the next time you guys hear from me, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you when I talk to you.
Bye, everyone.